The sun was barely up, casting a soft glow over Willow Creek, a quiet little spot in Maplewood, Oregon, where I'd moved to escape the grind of city life. It was June 2023, and I'd been here 6 months, running a small bait shop in town and finding solace in the early mornings by the creek. That water wasn't just a fishing hole, it was my refuge, a place that held memories of my dad teaching me to cast a line, his hands steady even as cancer took him, and of my late wife, Sarah, whose laughter used to bounce off water just like this. After losing her 2 years ago, the city's noise felt like a blade against my grief. Out here, the silence was kind. It let me breathe, let me heal. But that peace shattered the day Laura Mitchell decided she owned my creek. I was heading down to the water at 6 a.m., rod in hand, thinking about nothing deeper than whether the trout were biting. The mist clung to the creek, birds chirped their morning songs, and then I saw her, Laura, standing in my driveway like she was guarding a national monument. She wore a blazer with a faded badge pinned to it, clutching a clipboard like it held the secrets of the universe. "Excuse me, sir," she said, her voice dripping with that tone you know it, the one people use when they're about to tell you your fence is an inch too high. "I'm Laura Mitchell, president of the Maplewood Homeowners Association. This creek is private property. No unauthorized access." She waved her clipboard like a scepter, expecting me to bow. I stopped dead, squinting at her badge. The plastic was scratched, the corners bent, and the fine print showed an expiration date from 2021. "This badge is 2 years old," I said, pointing at the faded numbers. She yanked it back like I'd spit on her family heirloom, but not before I saw it clearly. That thing was older than half the houses around here. "What HOA are you talking about?" I asked, genuinely curious. In all my time here, I'd never gotten a single letter, flyer, or rulebook about any homeowners association. Laura started scribbling furiously, muttering about Section 14B violations and creek usage fees of $50 a day for non-members. She tore off a yellow citation and thrust it at me. I didn't take it. Instead, I pulled out my phone and hit record. This was about to get good. "You're telling me I can't fish in my own creek, on my own land, because I'm not on your roster?" I said, trying not to laugh. My fishing line tangled in my hands from gripping it too tight. Then, 10 minutes later, a tow truck and a locksmith rolled up. Laura had called them, claiming my truck was blocking HOA emergency routes. The locksmith took one look at my property marker's metal stakes, clearly showing my land's boundaries, and left. The tow driver just shook his head. "Ma'am, I can't tow a car from someone's own driveway," he called out, driving off. Laura flailed, shouting about liability and county codes, but they were gone. Across the street, Emma Harper watched from her porch, coffee mug in hand, giving me a sympathetic shrug that said, "Welcome to the circus." Meanwhile, Tom Reynolds, the guy who probably measures his lawn with a ruler, nodded along with Laura like she was preaching gospel. She stormed off, vowing to bring this to the neighborhood council, leaving me holding my tangled rod, wondering what kind of fever dream I'd stumbled into. The next day, things got uglier. Laura started calling my bait shop, telling customers I was under investigation for environmental violations and hinting they should shop elsewhere. 3 regulars walked out without a word, leaving me staring at empty racks. Each lost sale felt like a punch, not just to my wallet, but to the life I was building here. This creek wasn't just water, it was where I'd found peace after Sarah's death, where I could still hear my dad's voice in the quiet. I'd bought this land at a county auction, drawn to its stillness, a sanctuary from a world that felt too loud. Now Laura was turning it into a battlefield. I started digging. My old college buddy, James Carter, a lawyer in town, dropped a bombshell. "Ethan, you didn't just buy lakefront access. You own the whole creek, water rights and all." The auction paperwork was clear. I'd purchased the entire parcel, including the creek and a 50-foot buffer zone. Laura's HOA had no legal standing. Armed with this, I went door to door with county deeds, showing neighbors like Emma the truth. She admitted she'd been paying Laura's creek fees for years, thinking it was legit. Tom, though, slammed his door in my face, calling me a troublemaker disrupting community order. Laura upped the ante. She posted on the neighborhood forum, claiming my fishing was destroying wildlife habitats, complete with photos of trash and disturbed plants. But I checked the metadata. Those pictures were taken weeks before I even started fishing regularly, and from the opposite shore. She'd trekked around my creek just to frame me. I countered with my own time-stamped photos, proving the areas were pristine. Then my security cameras caught something bigger. Late-night deliveries of environmental cleanup, materials mulch, stones, plants going straight to Laura's backyard. The so-called Maplewood Community Fund was landscaping her property, not the creek. The tension exploded at a community meeting in the local rec center. Laura had turned it into a war room, with poster boards, a projector, and a stack of what she claimed were county documents. "This individual," she said, pointing at me like I was a criminal, "is threatening our ecosystem with unauthorized activities." The crowd murmured, some glaring at me. She clicked through slides of trash and fire risks she blamed on me. I stood up, heart pounding, and plugged my phone into her projector. "Let's talk about those photos," I said, showing a receipt from the Maplewood Community Fund for $200, paid to Reynolds Landscaping, Tom's cousin's company. Then I showed their truck parked in Laura's driveway, installing a fancy sprinkler system. The room went dead silent. Tom stared at his notepad like it might save him. Emma shook her head, whispering, "Unbelievable." I pressed on. "This creek is mine. I own it, per the county. And this fund, it's been paying for Laura's lawn, not environmental cleanup." Neighbors started shouting, demanding financial records. Laura stammered, threatening special assessments, but her credibility was crumbling. The meeting ended in chaos, with her storming out, vowing legal action. But Laura wasn't done. Overnight, orange barriers and no trespassing signs went up around my creek, citing county wildlife protection. Workers in vests marked Habitat Assessment Division swarmed the area, making it look like a hazmat zone. Neighbors turned on me. Tom spread rumors at the grocery store about my ecological damage. 2 bait shop clients canceled orders, citing my disrespect for nature. Even Emma avoided eye contact. I started doubting myself had I missed some real environmental issue. But my cameras told a different story. Those assessment trucks were delivering materials to Laura's property after dark. She was using fake environmental concerns to tighten her grip. Emma slipped into the coffee shop one morning, looking like she'd seen a ghost. "Ethan, there's more," she whispered, showing me receipts and texts between Laura and her contractor cousins. For 5 years, she'd collected thousands in community fees, funneling it into her home upgrades. The texts were damning. "Milk the environmental angle. Keep the pressure on until he pays." This wasn't just a power trip, it was extortion. The final showdown came at a county hearing in July 2023. James had filed a complaint, and the room felt like a courtroom, with commissioners, a court reporter, and Laura flanked by her lawyer and contractors. I laid out my case. County deeds proving I owned the creek, financial records showing $18,000 in community funds diverted to Laura's property, and the bombshell no HOA existed. Laura's badge, her citations, her entire authority was a lie. She'd never filed incorporation papers. The commissioners' faces hardened as they reviewed my evidence. Laura's lawyer whispered frantically, but she had no Thingno bylaws, no election records, just excuses about community consensus. The ruling was brutal. Laura faced $22,000 in restitution, $8,000 in fines, and 200 hours of community service at my creek, removing her fake signs and doing real conservation work. She had to post a public apology online. Watching her unscrew those rusted, "No trespassing" signs, sweat dripping as I recorded for the county, felt like justice in motion. Her fancy landscaping was dismantled to pay the fines, her silver SUV replaced by a beat-up sedan. The neighborhood shifted. Emma apologized, joining a new, transparent advisory council I set up. Tom, embarrassed, admitted he'd been duped and helped install new signs welcoming residents to Ethan's Creek community area. That fall, I sat by the creek, rod in hand, the water reflecting a clear sky. Emma brought coffee, Tom waved from a trail he was maintaining, and new neighbors asked about fishing rules. The silence was calm again, not heavy with fear. I'd fought a system built on lies and won, not by shouting, but with proof and persistence. Laura's empire of fake authority collapsed, but the real victory was the community we built, transparent, fair, and real. So, what would you do if someone tried to control your sanctuary with made-up rules? Would you fight, even if it cost you friends and peace? Or would you pay the fees to avoid the drama? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if this story got your blood pumping, and subscribe for more battles against fake power. What's the pettiest rule someone's tried to enforce on you? Let's get this comment section buzzing.